Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another What Made That Duel special. You guys voted in the comments on my last video, which was Jack, Rua, and Ruka versus Aporia, and Revolver versus Soulburner was the most liked comment, although I'm not sure why, considering the duel was only 2 turns. Of course, I'm just kidding. These two dueled each other twice, with the first duel being a complete flop as Revolver refused to fight, and the second duel being considered by many to be an all-time classic. I personally would go as far as to say it's one of the best duels in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime history. But what made Revolver versus Soulburner so special?
He said it! He said it!
We take a look at that question and attempt to answer it in this video. I hope you all enjoy. Revolver vs. Soulburner Round 2 takes place at the very end of VRAINS, being the penultimate duel of the series. It's a fitting conclusion for both of these characters, who had their character arc tied to the Lost Incident since the beginning of the show. This was a battle that both characters needed. It was an obvious want for Soulburner, who felt he lost so much of his life due to the Lost Incident. Soulburner lost his parents while he was kidnapped, and lost many months of his childhood, which scarred him into his teen years. He blamed Revolver for this incident. Even though Revolver ultimately saved the victims, Soulburner blamed him because he had no one else to direct that anger towards. Dr. Kogami, the actual mastermind behind the Lost Incident, was dead, and so Revolver bore the brunt of the rage that Soulburner had. Revolver understood Soulburner's emotions, and so when the two squared off in the middle of Season 2, Revolver ultimately decided not to put up a fight, believing that this was best for Soulburner so he could defeat him and begin to move on from the incident that had defined so much of his life until that point. However, this just enraged Soulburner, and the duel ended very anticlimactically with a no result. I have to recap a bit before getting to this duel, because I think a reason the rematch is so good is because of how much great backstory and connection these two characters had before they formally squared off in Season 3. A failed first duel that left every viewer wanting more, a foreshadowed shot of these two dueling in Opening 3. We knew this duel was coming sooner rather than later. The duel finally begins with information about the Ignis on the line in the form of a letter. If Revolver wins, he gets the letter from Soulburner, but if Soulburner wins, he gets to keep the letter and ultimately give it to Playmaker. The stakes here are not as high as the normal life or death stakes that we get throughout VRAINS, but it works perfectly for this duel. At its core, it's the same themes that have followed Revolver and Playmaker throughout the story. Kill the Ignis, or try to coexist with them. Thanks to Soulburner's close connections with Flame, he sides with the thought of trying to coexist with them if possible. And while the viewer probably sides with the thought of coexisting with them as well, our confidence in what is right and what is wrong is shaken because of the actions that Ai has taken throughout Season 3. So that core Ignis question is still very much present throughout this duel, which is great. Revolver immediately sets the duel field to the facility where the Lost Incident took place, and we as a viewer knew stuff was about to get real. The place where everything started for these characters. It's fitting that this will also be the place where Soulburner and Revolver finally settle things. We quickly realize how important this duel is for all of these characters. The Lost Incident plagued their lives in such a harmful way, and this duel could possibly be the end of the trauma that has been suffered for all of these years. The duel action is really solid throughout, which is what you would expect from these two juggernauts. Soulburner starts the duel by getting his ace Heatleo onto the field and sets a card. Revolver then begins his first turn by getting Borreload Dragon onto the field. Quad Borrel destroys Heatleo, and Borreload goes for game with a direct attack. Soulburner activates his trap Salamangreat Geyser to return Heatleo from his graveyard to the extra deck, and reduces Borreload's attack by 3,000, saving the duel. It's crazy, Revolver was so close to winning the duel on his first turn, a total opposite to how their first duel panned out. Soulburner has a classic Link era turn, and eventually fusion summons Violet Chimera. The back and forth during this battle phase is crazy. Soulburner attacks with Violet Chimera, uses Salamangreat Kernel to reduce Borreload's attack by 800, Revolver then activates one of Borreload's effects to reduce Chimera's attack. Then Chimera's effect goes off, which doubles its attack because Borreload's attack is different than its original attack, giving it 8,600 attack. Revolver then uses a spell effect to halve the battle damage, saving him with just 800 life points left as episode 115 comes to an end. Jeez. It was at this time you knew you were watching something special. Two of the best duelists just putting up an absolute clinic. And that was something that made this so memorable. It felt like either of these characters could genuinely win, and the unpredictability during this entire fight makes it so enjoyable the first time you're watching. The next episode starts with both characters having almost landed OTK blows on the other. Before taking his turn, Revolver mocks Soulburner for not being able to defeat him, saying that he will be mentally stuck in the Lost Incident forever, which is why he chose this field. Another big moment occurred in Soulburner's life since the last time these two dueled. He lost Flame. The Fire Ignis that he got so close with died literally in his arms and is gone forever. Another loss that Soulburner has to deal with, just like his parents' death, which is something he is struggling to do. Revolver has an insane turn that sees him summon Topologic, Zeraboros, and Borreload Savage Dragon, which he equips Borreload Dragon 2 that he made and destroyed earlier in this same turn. Revolver then goes Scorched Earth on Soulburner's Violet Chimera. If Chimera didn't have the double its attack if the monster it battles has a different attack than its original effect, this duel would have been over ages ago. After numerous attacks, Soulburner's life points get shaved all the way down to 700, and then Zeraboros nukes the entire field. So, no monsters are left at the end of this turn. Soulburner has 700 life points, Revolver has 800. The end is drawing near. Soulburner gives respect to Revolver inside his own mind, and states he is the greatest duelist he's ever faced, which just reminds the viewer how special of a duel this is. We learn that the morning of the Lost Incident when Soulburner was kidnapped, he had a fight with his parents. He doesn't remember what the fight was about, which shows how meaningless the fight was. The guilt he has had since this incident has eaten away at him ever since, which is a very relatable moment. There are so many times we as humans say things to people we love and people we care about that we either don't mean or eventually come to regret. This is an incredibly humanizing and somber moment in Soulburner's backstory, who then desperately yells at Revolver for advice. How do you apologize to those who are gone or those you will never see again? Whether it's the end of a relationship, a loved one passing away, that is a question that a lot of people deeply struggle with, especially when guilt and regret are tied to the end of a story. Revolver throughout this duel was berating and almost taunting Soulburner about not being able to defeat him, but it becomes very obvious he was trying to guide Soulburner towards a more enlightened future. Revolver shows empathy and then states one of the most spiritual quotes you'll ever get in a Yu-Gi-Oh! That those who are gone haven't vanished from your life, they just went ahead earlier, and that he lives his life in a way that won't shame them the next time they meet again, unlike how Soulburner has lived his life. This is one of the best, most emotional exchanges in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, and it is such an impactful and deep moment. This fires up Soulburner into his next turn, a turn that would be the final turn. But before Soulburner takes his draw, he gets a message from a beloved friend, Flame. Flame reassures him he's always been with him, and this cameo only adds to the emotional ride this duel has taken on us in the last few minutes. As Flame's spirit ascends to the skies, the rain that had been so visible clears up, and the sun symbolically shines on the battlefield. The field is totally empty outside of Revolver's 5200 attack Zeraboros, which is a symbol of Soulburner's final test. With no cards on the field and none in his hand, Soulburner takes his final burning draw. This final turn is at the level of all the previous turns in this duel. It's really good and kind of crazy. Soulburner is eventually able to use a Reincarnation Link summon after doing battle with Zeraboros. He lowers Revolver's final monster's attack, and somehow, someway, he does it. Revolver acknowledges him, and Soulburner finally gets what many of us viewers understood throughout this entire duel. Revolver was trying to help him, and as Flame puts it in a flashback, trying to apologize to him. The music kicks in, and the final attack lands, giving Soulburner the victory. Not only did he defeat Revolver, but he defeated the trauma that had plagued him for so many years. Though the scars of the Lost Incident will always be there, he is finally able to move forward and start living a more meaningful life, thanks to the help of Revolver. And as for Revolver, this duel was also very important for him. We see his visor crack and fly off in the final attack of the duel, which has always symbolized to me him breaking free from his shackles that the incident has always had on him as well. Two of the best duelists in VRAINS put on a masterpiece of a duel, and also were able to overcome a traumatic and defining incident together, helping each other along the way, and officially leaving it in the past once and for all. And guys, that wraps up this What Makes a Duel So Special. I absolutely love Revolver versus Soulburner Round 2. I was so happy to see that this duel won and a meme duel did not win. This is probably my favorite duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, and it's one of my 10 favorite duels in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Please write some suggestions for more duels you want to see me cover. The most liked comment after 7 days will be the next duel that I cover. Please do not let it be Taya versus Crump. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to Yadalocked for editing this video. He's awesome. Definitely check him out. His socials are down below. He runs a YouTube channel as well. I'll talk to you guys in the comments, and I hope you have an amazing day. Take care, guys.